Okay, here's the last little bit of day 15 notes for you. We're just going to work on converting between degrees and radians. So if we look, 360 degrees equals 2 pi radians, right? That's a full circle. So 360 over 2 pi equals 1 radian. 1 degree equals 2 pi over 360. Now, we can reduce those fractions, which makes our conversion a little bit easier. So 360 divided by 2 is going to give me 180 over pi. And then 2 over 360 can simplify to pi over 180. So these are what we're going to use in order to convert between the two measurements. So this first example here, I want to convert 30 degrees to radians. So 1 degree equals pi over 180. So I'm basically just going to multiply 30 by pi over 180. You'll see those degrees will cancel there. All right, so I'm left with 30 pi over 180. And if I reduce that, that's going to give me 1/6. Remember, too, in your calculators, guys, you can do that math frac, which will automatically give you the reduced version. I would definitely use that because you are going to see some big numbers, so that'll make it a whole lot easier to get to the reduced version. All right, so if we're going the other way, we're going to multiply our radians here. So in this case, we have 3 pi over 5 is our radians. And we want to go to degrees. I'm going to multiply 3 pi over 5 by 180 pi, or 180 over pi. And you'll notice when I do this, right, these pi's cancel. So you're really left with 180 times 3 over 5. Okay? So let's look at a couple examples, and I think you'll get the feel here. So if I want to go 15 degrees, what I'm going to do is multiply pi over 180. And I guess you can think about it this way too. When I'm going 2 radians, I'm, at least for our cases, going to end up with a pi in my number. All right, so I need that pi on top to be there. So that's how I remember, like when I'm going 2 radians, it's pi over 180. So I'm going to go here, multiply by 15 over 180, or I'm sorry, 15 over 1. All right, and then I end up with 15 pi over 180. And then if you do your math frac or just math to reduce a fraction, you're going to end up with 1/12 or, sorry, my pen acting goofy, pi over 12. Okay, here we got 300 degrees, same thing. I'm going 2 radians, so I'm going to multiply by pi over 180 times a degree. That's going to be 300 over 1. I end up with 300 pi over 180, and that's going to reduce down to 5 pi over 3. Right? Same thing on the next one. I'm going 2 radians, so when I'm going 2 radians, I want to multiply pi over 180 times the degree, which is 100 to 1, right? And I end up with 100 pi over 180, and that's going to reduce down to 5 pi over 9. One more time, same thing. Multiply by pi over 180 if I want to go to radians. 62 over 1, I'm going to end up with 62 pi over 180. And when I reduce that down, I'm going to end up with 31 pi over 90. Okay? Last but not least, same thing we've been doing, guys. All right? Pi over 180 times 225 over 1. I end up with 225 pi over 180. Use that math frac in your calculator because it's going to spit out the correct number. So then you're going to get 5 pi over 4. Okay? So that's going degree to radians. When we go the opposite direction, we're just going to flip what we've been multiplying by. All right? So now when I want to go 2 degrees, I'm going to go 180 pi. I'm sorry. We're going to go 180 over pi times 5 pi over 6. My pi's will cancel, which if I'm going to degrees, I probably don't want that pi in there, right? So now I will multiply, so I end up with 180 times 5 over 6. All right, that gives me 900 over 6, which again will reduce down, and I would use, you can generally just put this in your calculator. That's going to come out to 150 degrees. Okay, same thing here, right? 180 pi times 3 pi. I know I'm going to degrees because my pi's are going to cancel out. I'm going to have 180 times 3 over 4. That's going to give me 540 over 3, which when I divide that out, that's going to give me 135 degrees. Okay? I should probably put my degree mark up here too. Okay? Same thing. I'm going to multiply 180 degrees. (180 over pi times 7 pi over 5. My pi's are canceling. I'm going to have 180 times 7 over 5. That gives me 1260 over 5. And that comes out to 252 degrees. Okay? 2 more. I'm going to multiply by the exact same thing. We're going to do 180 over pi times 13 pi over 9. My pi's will cancel out because I'm going to degrees. So I'm going to end up with 180 times 13 over 9. That gives me 23,040 over 9, which comes out to 260 degrees. I'll leave that last one there for you to practice. And I hope that made sense. Again, if it didn't, shoot us an email. Come to the Zooms. We'll be doing Zooms Monday and Wednesday for 3rd hour and Tuesday, Thursday for 4th hour. So please come to those and we can hopefully get all your questions taken care of. All right. Have a good day. Take care.